This is part 68. As we move on to a new chapter then, which is chapter 19 actually, in our continued study of the book of Revelation. Sorry, chapter 18, not 19. We just finished 17, did we? So
yes.
This is chapter 18 then.
Lovely.
And this is the fall of Babylon. Now, I'm sure viewers may feel, well, look, we've heard enough of Babylon, and here we are again in this chapter, whole chapter about it. So, I already said that Jesus and his Father must be obsessed with this word Babylon, and they are.
Mm.
But why are they obsessed with it? Because it's such a huge issue for them.
Mm.
And if it's a huge issue for them, it must be a huge issue for us and for the whole of humanity. There's no way that they would continue to bombard us with this word Babylon. Without question, it refers to the Catholic Church. Why are they bombarding us with this word Babylon? The only reason can be is that the Catholic Church and the ancient empire of Babylon, which existed 2,600 years ago, and previous to that too, but its height was about 2,600 years ago. It was based in the city of Babylon, which was not too far south of Baghdad. You might say, what on earth is the connection? We can be full sure that in the mind of God and His Son Jesus, there must be not just a connection, but a vast connection, a huge connection. And the only connection can be in its religion. The religion of the Catholic Church must, in a very big way, have come in various routes from ancient Babylon. We may say, well, was this really the case then? Here it's worth saying that God and His Son of infinite, as it were, infinitely more knowledge than us, infinitely more understanding than us of the past. So we must hand it to them that they know what they're talking about. When they keep using this word Babylon, it must mean that Babylon it has a huge influence on the Catholic Church today, and that is that the Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar and that great empire which existed going back, of course, to the Tower of Babel, it must have a huge influence on Catholic teaching and Catholic doctrine today. Otherwise, there is no way that God and His Son Jesus would continue to bombard us with this word Babylon.
We fully trust in them.
So, Revelation chapter 18, this will be mostly from the Catholic Jerusalem Bible. I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority given to him. The earth was lit up with his glory. At the top of his voice he shouted, Babylon has fallen, Babylon the Great has fallen, and has become the haunt of devils and a lodging for every foul spirit and dirty, loathsome bird. All the nations have been intoxicated by the wine of her prostitution. Every king in the earth has committed fornication with her, and every merchant grown rich through her debauchery. Points to note, this is all future. It will happen after the second coming. The same applies to the rest of the book of Revelation, chapters 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 are all future, although some aspects of this chapter 18 goes back to the past, but the events themselves though are future, and they will happen after Jesus comes back. An angel come down from heaven. The angel stands for the new government in Jerusalem, which will be made up of Jesus and the saints, and they will then have been installed as the new heaven, the new ruling class, with great authority. All authority on earth will then be in the hands of the saints and of Jesus. The earth was lit up with His glory. The glory will be the gospel. It will be the one true gospel. It will banish forever the mountain of lies which cover the world now. The saints will preach it to all nations, starting from Jerusalem. It will light up the whole earth. As the poem says, truth will reign from shore to shore, truth will rise and set no more. That's from a poem called The Great Prophet Isaiah. The angels shouted, Babylon has fallen, Babylon the Great has fallen. This will be the fall of the Catholic Church. The saints will make this announcement to the world. The Catholic Church will not have fallen at that stage. Like many parts of the book of Revelation, the end result is given first, followed by the description of how that end result would be achieved. Babylon has become the haunt of devils and a lodging for every foul spirit and dirty, loathsome bird. This will be the pitiable state of the Catholic Church when it finally does fall. At that stage, the whole world will slowly become aware that the Catholic Church of Rome, the Church of Rome, is unfortunately, no matter how painful it is to say it, totally false in the eyes of God. Its churches have been shown to be nothing but chapels of paganism, which of course is true of an awful lot of Protestant churches too. It's true because Revelation says it, not because I say it. It is described as the haunt of devils and a lodging for every foul spirit. A lodging for every dirty, loathsome bird. God would never describe the birds that fly in the sky in this way, because they are His creation. It refers to people and not to birds, since it is all about religion, and birds travel more than any creature, and of course they travel fast too. The speed of a bird is phenomenal, and the bird migration, of course, which is a miracle, what they travel thousands of miles. So what group within the Catholic Church travels widely to spread its message? Its priests do. They are called, imagine this, dirty, loathsome birds. I mean, dearie me. Isn't this an absolute disaster then?
It's incredible.
For humanity?
I think it's incredible.
It is incredible. If you, all right, my friends, if it has not been this, what does it mean? You may say, oh, poppycock Neil, that's rubbish. That's not what it means. All right, my friend, tell me what it does mean. Because unfortunately I can't see any other meaning but this.
No.
And if you think that I'm not paining and suffering here when I say this, you'll think again, because this is a terrible price for me, my personally, to say things like this. As I say, knowing the wonderful people that I've met in the church, devoted, better equipped than myself to enter the kingdom, I would say, and here it is, what it says about the church. Its priests, they are called dirty, loathsome birds. That is from the Catholic Jerusalem Bible. So the Catholic Good News Bible says all kinds of filthy and hateful birds live in her. All the nations have been affected. All the nations have been intoxicated, made drunk by the wine of her prostitution. Wine stands for religious teaching. We see this from the great feast which Jesus will hold on Mount Zion at the start of the kingdom. In this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make to all the peoples a feast of fat things, a feast of wines and the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines and the lees well refined. He will destroy on this mountain the covering that is cast over all the people, and the veil that is spread over all the nations. From the Jewish Koran Bible. What is the veil that is spread over all the nations, which Jesus will destroy on Mount Zion? It is the false doctrines which practically the whole world have, and that even includes atheists, who also hold a belief, because they hold a kind of a dogma or a doctrine, the belief that there is no God. The people of the whole world will suddenly realise that they believed a pack of lies about the purpose of life, and above all, what comes after death. So again, what another disaster this is for mankind. In many ways, this is the subject that should be discussing at the United Nations, rather than what they do actually discuss. It isn't, my friends, me who's saying this. No. Jesus himself says the whole world is covered with a veil over their minds, and that means that they're believing lies. What other explanation is there? You may say, oh, no, the majority of people are basically good. It's only the small few bad apples. That's not what the Bible says.
No.
In fact, right through the Bible, it's a small few who are good, and of the truth, and it's the vast majority who are blinded and deceived.
Jesus wept for them, didn't he?
He did, yes, he did, because he knew the reality that it's only.
He said it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle
than for a rich man, and he said that broad is the way, he said, that leads to destruction, and many there are, and that few there be. The way that leads to life is narrow. So all the indications are, again, you may think, oh, this guy, he thinks he's one of the chosen few.
No.
Again, please do not. This is not what it's about.
No.
It's facing the solemn words of Jesus and of God through his prophets, and you have to face it, my friend.
Yes.
The whole world has to face it.
Yes.
The people of the world will certainly realise that they believed a pack of lies about the purpose of life. What will the feast on Mount Zion be celebrating? It will be for all peoples, the very same group for whom Jesus will destroy the veil. He will offer them wine on the lees. This phrase is used twice, showing how important the word wine is. What Jesus will really offer the people of the world will be the truth. He said himself, the truth will make you free. The true doctrine about life. That is what the wine stands for. There will be plenty of real wine drunk to celebrate the kingdom. And wine is a wonderful drink, and that's actually good for our health too. So there will be plenty of wine and celebration. But here it does not mean real wine, but doctrine. Now all the nations have been intoxicated by the wine of her prostitution. Here is a very different kind of wine. This wine stands for the false doctrine of the Catholic Church. There are Catholics in nearly every country of the world, so all the nations have been intoxicated. I mean, what a word to use. By her wine. It is called the wine of her prostitution. A prostitute sells her body to men. That's what the ordinary prostitutes do. The Catholic Church sells her principles to the world so as to gain the world's popularity. It is spiritual prostitution, but it has nothing to do with sex. Let's get that out of our mind. Nothing whatsoever to do with sex. It's everything to do with false teaching that is part of the veil that covers all nations. Every king in the earth has committed fornication with her. Kings stand for world leaders. So many of them make their way to Rome to meet the Pope. By that very act, they add to the popularity and respect of the Church. And the Vatican is up to its eyes in politics, whereas it should really be up to its eyes in the true gospel. It should be separate from politics. The political intrigues of the Jesuits are the high point of the Church's involvement in politics. The concise Oxford Dictionary defines Jesuit as a member of the Society of Jesus, a Roman Catholic order initiated by Ignatius Loyola and others in 1534. But look what it also says, dissembling person, equivocator. And William Shakespeare wrote the play Macbeth. Act 2, Scene 3 has a porter at Hell's Gate. And one of his guests arrived at Hell's Gate. When he saw his visitor, the porter said, that's the porter who admitted all visitors to hell, and he said, "Faith, he is an equivocator, that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven, or come in equivocator. So he was welcome to hell then by the porter. Here it is in modern English. Faith, here is one of these devils advocates who could take any side in an argument and tell any number of lies for God's sake, but who could not talk his way into heaven or come in twister. The equivocator was Father Henry Garnet, who was the head of the Jesuits in England at the time of the Gunpowder Plot in 1605. He was accused of knowing about the plot in advance and of not telling the authorities. He was executed on the 3rd of May 1606. He was pronounced guilty by the court and by William Shakespeare, but Father Henry may have been not guilty. So such was the suspicion of Jesuit priests and of all Catholic priests at the time, that he stood little chance of justice. So I would say then, speaking on behalf of Father Henry Garnet, that the evidence that I have is that he was not guilty.
No.
I'm not going to accuse any man or any organisation of being guilty of something that they were not guilty of, but he was just carried away by the wave of anti-Catholic feeling at the time. An equivocator